All right, here we go. iHeart Sports, Coast to Coast NHL podcast here with Tori. Stanley Cup Finals starting day. We're doing kind of like, I guess it's last minute. Want to throw something quick together on our thoughts and keep the game, the last bet alive for our game. I didn't do the tallies, to be honest, so I don't know where we're at. But
that's okay. You can do some editing and put it up on the screen when we
get there. I'll do that, and maybe I'll just put it below. But anyway, we're in the finals. We're here. Stars, Lightning.
Yeah.
I think this is the absolute perfect you called at the beginning of the playoffs. Even though you picked against the Lightning along the way, I think that was more for odds side of it.
Yeah.
But this is the one you called. You had the West. I edged me out by that. Couple games actually when Vegas.
We were close. We had two really good guesses to the very end, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of close on my call with the overtimes and the close games in that series, but I'm not gonna lie, I expected one or two bounces to go Vegas's way.
Yeah.
And even the coach said that, like, 2 games was it against Demko? 1 or 2?
They have 3 games before. 3 games.
So he said the 3 games against Demko really crushed them. And then when they started playing against Kudobin, and he also was shut the door, he said their confidence just disappeared, and he said there was no coming back from it. The coach says that, the coach,
okay,
I forget who the coach is.
Peter DeBoer.
DeBoer? Okay, I was going to guess that, but I didn't want to be wrong.
I
know they've made a couple changes, right? Who was there before? Gallant,
and just to touch on that quickly, like from the Vegas fans that I follow and listen to, they hated the firing when it happened, and now they're blaming that firing as the turning point for ruining the season. That's how extreme they are. For the first time I've ever seen, Vegas fan base is torn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
disappointment year for them.
It's a good thing for them, because I mean, if the fans didn't care, then that wouldn't be good for the NHL. Like, it's great that Vegas fans give a shit like 2 years into their existence. Like, it's fantastic for the NHL.
Yep.
Except for one thing I want to just touch on. I think Seattle's doomed. Not in the sense of, like, they're going to be the next Coyotes or anything, but in the sense of, like, the bar that was set is never going to be reached by another expansion team.
No, and I don't think so either.
I think that's the only bad thing for the NHL, because if they go around, like they said, every expansion team is going to cost more. So whenever we expand again, give it 10 years at this point, however long it is, they're going to charge more. And what if that team says, hey, like, there's a huge difference. Do you think we're going to get even better than the Seattle, who got even worse than Vegas? I think the NHL has got to be worried about that. And one other thing, I just want to jump off the subject for a quick second. I think the NHL is at a crossroads right now. It's very much a copycat league. And if you look at the teams that were still in the Final Four, they're very defensive, and they had a lot of different players. There was a breakdown of Matt Martin, for example, on how he couldn't contribute for the Leafs, but yet he contributed for one of the teams that went furthest in the playoffs.
Yep.
I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that, obviously, it's hard to jump in and have offense right away and have the, mojo in the offense going right away. But I think the NHL failed by calling the penalties the way they should have called them. I remember saying on the podcast that I felt like they had an opportunity here to really kind of change the mindset. Like, playoff hockey is playoff hockey. We understand that. But playoff hockey is like mauling and like battle royale compared to regular season. And, like, if you're going to play 82 games structured on one type of hockey and then just flip the coin come playoffs, then what are we doing here? What's the purpose of, like, if that's what we're going to do, there's no point chasing presidents unless you're top 3 or 4 in the league. And then at that point, there's no point handing out big contracts.
Yeah.
There's no point going after superstars. You just might as well go and get a nice balanced team that will do what you're looking for them to do. Get a couple good coaches, a couple solid goaltenders, and, just be good. Just be all around good. That's not what the NHL needs to be.
Yeah, I can't argue.
I think they're at a crossroads. I'm worried about it a little bit, to be honest.
Well, how do you think you avoid that from happening? It seems to always happen. Then it's like, to me, it's rock paper scissors. Like, okay, we found the new hack. Now find out how to beat it. It happens all
Yeah,
the
and like
time.
I mean, the one big thing the talk was the what was it, the puck over the glass penalty that happened.
Mhm.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't want to hear the talk at all, either side of that coin. Like, it's a rule. It happened. It's the same as if a guy went over and punched somebody in the face or
Yeah.
pulled somebody's feet out. It's a rule, a rule. I don't care what rule or what you think of the rule. It's a rule.
No,
Do I
100%.
believe in
I
it?
don't. I
No.
wouldn't
Like,
partake in that either. One thing when I was watching the last round with the Islanders Tampa, one of the penalties in like the final game, crucial moment, ended up being a double minor. Is the bleeding rule. If you
oh, when
bleeding,
you draw blood.
yeah, like it's a double minor when you're bleeding off a high stick, and
Yeah.
but they argue that rule should possibly be changed. Like there should be potential for
Who's saying that?
one of the mainstream commentators, I forget, it's the national broadcast. I forget who it was because
So who got hit in the face? I missed this. I don't know.
I don't know. But where I'm going with
What
that,
team though?
I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
I don't remember, dude. It's not really
Anyways,
relevant.
yeah.
But what I'm saying that like that conversation only comes up when it's playoffs, right? They think you need to be a little more
Yeah.
lenient. That's basically I was trying to support your point that way instead of looking for commentator bias, which whatever, that's a whole thing. But
Yeah.
I forget what made us go off on this, but do you want?
Sorry, yeah, my other computer started making noises there. I had to turn that off. I kind of gapped out for a half second. But yeah, you were just saying about the drawing the blood and different penalties being called at different times / debating the rules of certain rules that are in play now.
Mm-hmm.
Does that remind you where you're going with that?
No, it was before all that, but it's okay.
Oh,
We
okay.
can just we can move on. Do you want to talk about this final, or
Yeah, I mean, I think we should. I mean, we didn't really touch on the East at all. Do we want
Yeah.
to touch on the East? Islanders versus Tampa.
do you want to promote your curse that you seem to?
If you go back and watch, I mean, you can tell based on the words I use and like how I'm describing certain things that I'm kind of being funny about stuff, and I'm pretty sure I used the word smothered and annihilate maybe to describe how the Islanders were going to treat the Tampa Bay, and I went on to also say, oh yeah, I didn't even look at the odds and I decided it before. Well, that was proof right there that I was picking the Islanders and I was fully on board with the Islanders because I knew that if I jumped on board with them, their luck would run out. So I did everything I possibly could to try and make them lose their momentum.
Okay.
Because I cannot stand the Islanders.
Just spread the voodoo. Tori believes in that stuff. I don't know if I do, but I've been tested this season with Calgary, so I don't know what to believe anymore. The world is a weird place, so we got.
But like honestly, you have like 3 things of proof with Calgary alone.
Yeah, for sure. I know if this final ended up being Dallas Islanders, I probably would not have watched very much, if any. Like I'd watch some, but like. Yeah, definitely with football starting.
Like Steve Dangle said, I get paid to watch hockey. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, that goes to exactly what I was saying there when I jumped the gun a little bit. That like that could have been one of the worst things for the NHL. And like I don't think that the Islanders can be compared to Dallas, because the Islanders don't have a Seguin, they don't have a Ben, they don't have a Heiskanen. Like they don't have these other players. Yes, they play very similar, restricting kind of or you win you off a
this is where I disagree. I think they have very similar. Like they do have those players. They added Peugeot. They have Barzal. They have Pollock on the back end.
Okay, I'll give you Barzal.
They have Andy Green, who's like fits in there to leadership them, and then they have Matt Martin. Like, no, not the same.
These are just a bunch of guys that I shouldn't say these are just a bunch of guys. These are a good group of guys who work well together and play well as a system. Like there's many times, for example, where I've played over the years And I've seen players come in and try out for teams that I've played on that are top 3 or 4 for sure in terms of talent. But either they're nutcases, they don't have compete level, they won't block a shot in the last minute of a game. Maybe they're selfish, they take dumb penalties. Like these little things that can make the difference. All of those little things, or like there was one guy as well that he was always the last one that showed up, but he was also the loudest. So like every time the coach was like, "Okay, boys," like just starting the pregame talk, he'd stroll in, "Hey, boys, you drinking this weekend? What's going on?" And it's like, you're so disruptive. Like at one point, the coach just said, "If you're not here on time, dress out in the hall, and then I'll address you afterwards." And then he got cut. So like just things like that we would never see, we would never know. That could be the difference of losing in round 1 versus being a really tight unit that plays well as a unit. Like they were saying, the Islanders were 5th in the division, 4th in the division. So there's other teams who finished above them.
They were scrapping for a playoff spot. I remember before the pandemic, they were scrapping,
and then they just walked through. But again, there's no, how do you say it? Like there's no a lot of other teams in the NHL are not perfect. Like they have blemishes, and those blemishes kind of stand out. Where some of these other teams can afford to pay. What was it? The Islanders' 4th line, I think, was $9 million or something like that. List me off how many teams could afford to pay a $9 million 4th line.
Sure that.
Like 3 or 4 maybe. Like, and if you want to pay that much to your lower lineup to have depth, well then you cannot have the top end guys. And the one stat that kind of irritated me is I think they said something like in the second last round out of the final 8, there's only 2 teams or something like that had any players over 10 million or something like that, or they had like a group of 5 players who were over 80% of the cap or whatever the stat was. And it annoys me because one of them was Tampa that didn't fit this mold, and everybody just wouldn't shut up about these stupid stats for 2 rounds, yet Tampa's still here. So everything that they're talking about is irrelevant. So what are we doing here? It's just
like
there's
Tampa
a lot of that stuff that just irritates me.
Tampa kind of silently went to the final.
Yeah. I think everyone kind of expected them to, but they weren't
took care of
going to
business.
predict them because they didn't want to be wrong.
They just took care of business along the way, the whole way.
Yep.
And here we are.
And like here's a question though I wanted to ask you is I've multiple times in the podcast in the past suggested issues with stars coming back. One in particular was the Blues. When I said Tarasenko coming back could really disrupt them. Do you think Tampa has a better chance to carry on and maybe get Stamkos in game 6 or 7? Or do you think it's better to get him now and get him in the lineup? And like, what do you think is the better path for them? The best path for them?
I never really thought about it. I figured if he's ready to go, you put him in the lineup, even if it's just like third line minutes, like 10 minutes, you put him in. But maybe I never thought of it. It's your captain, right? You probably.
I mean, at this point, I think you
just want a shot on the power play. I think, if anything.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, Point's hurting. Like we all know, Point has at least 1 or 2 injuries that are lingering. If you can take 10-20% of his workload off and put it on Stamkos, that's probably a recipe for success.
Yeah.
So that's why I think you have to look in there. But if he comes in game 1 or game 2 and he looks really bad, at that point maybe you. Like, it sucks. It's not like baseball where you can be like, oh, we'll put you a DH for a little bit and, like, slide you back in slowly. It's like, it's hard, especially for a centerman, because, like, you're bending down on draws. You're fighting in scrum, especially in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So whatever injury he has, which is kind of mysterious.
It's annoying that we don't have any idea.
I haven't heard this, but I'm just going to go out there and speculate something on my own.
Yeah, let's do that. We do that. That's what we do, so.
He had a really weird injury, what was it, a year and a half ago? Remember he had core surgery?
Yep.
Similar to what Crosby had? I have a feeling something happened.
Possible.
To him during that. And I feel like it's like lingering. Like, I'm not saying like, bad
maybe
surgery.
Maybe never 100% from it to begin with, yeah.
Yeah, like, a lot of times when you get hurt, something pulls on something or something, overcompensates for something. I just feel like he's still maybe trying to get his body back into top shape because of the whole core thing.
Poor Stamkos.
That's wrong. Everything else is wrong.
He's had pretty severe injuries all throughout his career. So
and bad timing, like really
you would never know.
timing.
It could be any of them, just all adding up, nagging. It's just you really do not know.
Well, he missed the Olympics. He's missed 2 cup finals, I think now. Like I feel so bad for the guy, but I don't know. It's hockey, right?
I guess I think he's a happy guy. He's happy with the way his hockey career has gone. You would think, at least.
I think so too. Yeah.
But you hope if they keep coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should get to the predictions though and see where we're going with this, because I don't know. I have no idea where your head's at with this.
Okay. So the odds, we're like in the odd side of it. We got Tampa Bay -200, and then you got Dallas +170, which is pretty big dog. Not as big of a dog as they've seen in the 2 rounds prior. So getting a little bit more respect. I don't know if they deserve more respect odds-wise, but this is probably what they should have been priced in the other series, more or less.
Yeah.
So for me, I really think Tampa Bay is going to win the Cup. So.
How many games?
I'm going to go 6. Dallas will take 1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, like we talked about this right at the end of the last podcast when we were talking about the MVP, and it's just the goalie edge in my mind is so huge that it makes all of the difference in this series.
Yeah. And I think I know we were kind of chatting a little bit, and what were we talking about for MVP picks? Who did you have?
Well, I said Victor Hedman would probably be top of my list right now. He's been playing unreal.
And I picked. Yeah, and we said offline too. He's probably the number 1 defenseman in the entire NHL, in the world for that matter.
Yep.
He's probably the best defenseman in the world. But it was funny because you picked Hedman, I picked Vasilevsky for MVP of the finals, and we kind of summarized it just saying that like once you put all the forwards and everything else into the mix, I think it's going to come out somewhat of a wash. Yeah. And like you could see Point have a big 4-point night, and then he still ends up with like 9 points in the series kind of thing. But there's going to be so many good forwards to pick from that it's going to kind of blur each other out, which will push the focus outside the forwards.
If anything, if a forward's going to win, it's going to be hard to pick which forward, basically.
Yeah.
Like a forward, it could rotate through any number of them. Like you said, 9-point series that they might win, but which one's getting the 9-point series? That's more difficult.
Let me ask you a slightly different question. So if Tampa wins, your MVP is obviously Hedman. Mm-hmm. If Dallas wins, who's your MVP?
So before I answer this, I don't know the rule. Is it the MVP of just the final, or
just
is it
the last round?
There is something for that, or like there's an actual award that gets given out, or is this just
Jennings?
Okay, so it doesn't.
Maybe. There's MVP of the playoffs, and then there's MVP of just the Stanley Cup finals.
Okay. If Dallas wins, I would have to imagine it's Hudobin.
Yeah. I'm gonna. It's so funny because I'm gonna go Heiskanen. You go Hedman and I go Vasilevsky, and then now you go Hudobin and I go Heiskanen, which is pretty funny because I think that I don't remember the stat. I'm not even gonna try and reach for it right now in my memory, but they're talking about the points Heiskanen has, and the game-winning points, or the points that he's been in on for game-winning goals, like assists and obviously whatever, secondary assists, and his points are like ridiculous. Like, especially as a defenseman, like he's amongst some of the top ranks for Dallas as well for points and stuff. Like we're talking like similar to Brett Hall.
Yeah.
So like for a defenseman, like that's it. No matter how you slice it, that's incredible for points and stuff like that. Yeah, some of them are cheap in secondary assists and whatever, but like still,
yep,
you're the second last person to touch the puck. So I don't know, but I go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'd be shocked. Like, I don't even know. I was just gonna interrupt. I'll be honest. I got stuck in my own. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that I didn't give out my prediction. I see it a 6-game series as well, and I'm going with Tampa. I think that the bubble is about to pop for Dallas, and I think did you catch that article from Pavelski? Pavelski?
The one where he had to choose between Tampa Bay and Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting that's. I mean, I'm sure there's one or two other ones in there, but he's kind of just trimming down the fat of the story a little bit. But I just feel like there's too many things that went wrong for Dallas. It's time for their, kind of, like I said, bubble to pop a little bit.
Maybe.
Where I think Tampa has another gear to get into still. Where I just feel like, I don't know.
I just think
Dallas has been playing out their butt the whole freaking year.
Well, that's kind of when I was gonna jump in and interrupt there. My mind was thinking, I wonder how much if you bet $100 on Dallas every game in the playoffs right now, how rich you would be.
Yeah.
What the return on $100 would have been.
That would be a fun little project. It would have been a couple hundred, you'd think, right?
Oh, I would think it'd be close to $1,000, $100 into $1,000.
Really?
Yeah, because definitely against Vegas, you would have made like $600, $700.
Oh wow!
If you bet them every game, because it was 4-1, right?
Oh, that's true.
And they were huge. Well, maybe $400 seems more right, but still.
There's a commercial on the local radio here that I listen to. I think it's on TSN, and it's basically like it's a snippet from one of the shows, and I don't even know what host it was, but he was talking. He's like, "And whoever had Dallas, you're just lying. You didn't pick Dallas." I'm like, I had Dallas. I actually legit had Dallas.
I respect it. I'm pretty sure if we went back, I don't even remember. I think I went against Dallas every round. So, maybe
no,
yeah. No,
you had them.
No,
round two.
I had them round two only because of the odds.
Or round one, no, because you didn't have
Calgary.
them versus Colorado. Calgary, that's the team. I couldn't remember who.
I picked Calgary.
The
remember?
First round, the second round. The first round.
I picked Calgary because I got them wrong.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
I got them wrong.
Your jinx sent me off on the right track.
So I picked in against them again, and so far they've proven me wrong every time. So wouldn't be shocked to see it again.
Yeah,
for sure. I think.
Well, just out of curiosity, I want to check the score right now. Do you know the score now?
No, I haven't looked. It's just so anyone that listens and gets this far, which is probably one person, maybe two at this point. We're filming this in the middle of game one, so all right, you can spoil now.
My audio just changed. I don't know if I sound different now.
You might sound slightly different, but I don't think it matters.
Okay, all the sound changed on my computer now, so I'll just run with it and see what happens.
All right.
Yeah, it's 3-1 Dallas after 2.
3-1 Dallas after 2. Yep. So, changing your pick?
No. I still think that there's just too much. There's too much for Dallas to overcome, but at the same time, Dallas is a good team.
They are a good team.
Like, if Bishop comes back and he figures out that he's a goaltender again, then
they're not gonna. You cannot bring Bishop back at this season. No, you can't.
Maybe you don't have a choice.
You gotta. Oh, I guess, yeah.
Who's your next option? What if Khudobin what if the tank's empty now and like every team needs 2 goalies in the playoffs? What if Khudobin has done his job and his purpose was to get them here? You need that other goalie to step in. It's not going to be Jake Ottinger. I don't even know who the other goalie is.
Well, I think you'd have to be down 3-1 with a lot of goals to consider it.
Yeah.
If he gets you 2 wins before he's playing game 6.
You're down 0-2 and you lost 4-0 and 5-2 or something.
Yeah, but we already know it's 3-1 in game 1, so that's not happening.
Yeah, that's true.
We've been brought up to the present time one last time.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it sucks that it's going to be a while for fantasy, so we're not going to have any fantasy podcasts for a bit. Looks like we probably won't even get into a fantasy draft or fantasy talk
December.
at all until December minimum.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll find some things to talk about because there'll be free agency. So we might go back to like the pandemic kind of schedule once every 2 weeks. Maybe if we have a couple cool things to talk about. That was my
Wouldn't
dog.
mind.
That was my dog.
Hi, dog. Belch.
Yeah.
So it sounded like.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind doing something for the entry draft. Obviously, I really like that. I wouldn't mind getting some of my kind of opinions and, calls out there and somewhere on video so that we can look back in a couple of years and see,
Yeah, for sure.
I'm right about anything. I like to make calls on prospects and stuff like that. I think it's going to be interesting to, I think we're going to have a show after, you probably don't know this off the top of your head, but the date where the agency opens?
No.
October 9th.
It's going to be right after the draft, right?
9th.
Oh, man, the brother. Yeah.
Yeah. Draft, I think it's 6-7. And then free agency is the 9th.
Yeah.
Of October, I want to say. But I think that there's going to be, October 1st has to have all the bonus payouts. It's a week before free agency. I think there's going to be a lot of trades right after those bonuses are paid out for a lot of teams.
Okay.
I think we'll have a shot something to talk about then. Then I think that there's going to be trades galore this offseason, so I think there's going to be a lot of shows that we can do based on that.
I just had a question. Based on what you just said, why do the Coyotes owe their bonuses already? And or how did they find out they're not getting paid? Remember how that just happened?
Sorry, that's totally different. So I'm talking about structure bonuses. So for example, the Leafs, what is it? Matthews' deal is 11.634, but it's like $11 million. He gets paid as a lump sum on, usually it's July, whatever. It's like a week before free agency. So like the Leafs and the Rangers and some of these other teams who have a lot of money have structured deals that way. So like whenever the date is and they pay them out, that's when they'll then trade them, because it's like, that's where the players will be like, $6 million cap hit, but only actually owed $1 million actual physical money. So that's when these small market teams will say, hey, I'll take that because it's going to bring me up from the cap and make me a cap team. But I'm only actually paying a fraction of the physical money itself. So there'll be a lot of stuff to talk about then. What the Coyotes bonuses were is the staff, coaches, their scouts, their whatever that are due bonuses, for whatever. But a lot of them never got them. Arizona is so screwed. Like they're
could be a whole show dedicated to that team.
Yeah, what's that, sorry?
We could do a whole show dedicated to that team.
I know, and I was just gonna say that the one thing I found funny is what's his name, Armstrong, that got hired as the new GM there. One of the reasons why he was hired is that apparently he blew away the ownership group because he came in with a 94-page presentation where everyone else came in with a 20-page presentation. Like it took him 3 hours, and apparently he laid out the next 5 years that he would like to do.
Wow. So he had a vision compared to these other guys.
He did, but my opinion on that is that's a dangerous game, because if you have to have everything go right for 3 or 4 years to recycle and get back to where you need to be, there's rumors that they basically are going to have to give OEL away. And not that he's elite like he once was, but sounds like they're literally just going to give him away. Kemper, it sounds like they're just going to give him away to try and get some. No,
Kemper.
It doesn't look good for the Coyotes. So
it's like a 5-year plan. Yeah, that is scary but they're used to it. So.
Yeah. I'll be in Quebec shortly, or Kansas City shortly. So.
Houston. Whatever.
Houston, maybe.
Yeah. Just throwing it in there. Not that I believe it, but okay, cool. Anything else we just want to wrap up? You wanted to keep it short, so I wanted to keep it short. Good. Yeah. All right. Have a good night, man. We'll talk soon. Keep in touch. You know it.
All right.
Peace.